This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. After just leaving Tokyo yesterday, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I'm now in Hong Kong. Boy, can there not be any difference in these two places. And you might be sitting somewhere else in this world right now, and you might be saying to yourself, what's the difference, man? I'm sitting here in America, or I'm in Europe, or whatever. It's very difficult to describe. So Tokyo is this just fantastic place. It's so organized. It's so civilized. I mean, the vending machines, come on, green tea vending machines every 100 feet, it seems, always take bills, always take change, always can give change, gives you hot or cold tea perfectly every time. Just the most civilized place. And food is the best. It's a little slow though. You know, the people are wonderful. Tokyo, if you haven't been, just get on a plane and go. You got to go to Tokyo. Tokyo is awesome. But it's such an interesting contrast to land in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is just on fire. Everybody is here trying to make something happen. I've not been to mainland China yet. I can't imagine what Beijing's going to feel like, what Shanghai is going to feel like. But Hong Kong is just... it's alive. It's electric. You don't have to like it. And it's got some rough edges, but it's alive. I mean, you could just feel the pulse. Everything on the street. I'm in central Hong Kong right now, and I guess I've not been to this part before. I don't know how I missed it, but or my memory's faulty. And I'm not saying I'd want to live here. Can't draw that conclusion yet, but boy, is there energy. It's just pulsating. Everyone is doing something. Everyone is moving. Look, everyone's moving in Tokyo too, but it's just not, it's just not on fire. Japan is so homogenous and it's great. I mean, I think it's wonderful that they've built this community, but Hong Kong's a melting pot. There's no doubt about that. I mean, everybody's just melting into one big stew of humanity. So it's quite exciting. So anyways, let me give a little bit of feedback before I jump into this podcast about some of the things that have been going on in my life, my trend following life, my trend following journey. So for those of you that don't know, I'm currently in Asia. I've been here for coming up on 4 weeks. And wow, time flies. So first 2-3 weeks were spent in Thailand. I learned how to drive on the wrong side of the road. I learned how to go very fast on the wrong side of the road. I learned how to not really hit any of the motorbike drivers on the wrong side of the road, at least yet. I'm not really joking because I think I did come close to creaming a few people, but I learned. I talked about this in a prior podcast a little, but after Thailand, I jumped over and went to Tokyo. And I was giving a presentation on the 25th on Monday for CLSA at the Hyatt Roppongi, the Roppongi district. And it was interesting, very interesting, mostly a fundamental group, value guys. There were some true believer trend following types there, and they welcomed me with open arms. But there was quite a few of people that probably really didn't want anything to do with trend following. And that's understandable. It's completely understandable. I don't beat up anybody that doesn't want to do trend following or doesn't want to understand it. But it was, you always want to have crowds that really know something about it, at least a little bit. It helps. However, there were a ton of questions after my presentation, and it was quite enjoyable. And there was a great dinner that night, and my friend Laurent, my new Frenchman friend who was instrumental in getting me to arrive in Tokyo and make this presentation, quite enjoyable. Giving me some feedback on the podcast. He told me that I started to sound a little more angry. I don't know if that was his word or not, but a little more strident perhaps in the fall. So that was good feedback. I thought to myself, well, I don't listen to these podcasts really after I'm done with them. So I wouldn't have known whether or not I had gotten a little tougher around the edges. Hopefully not too bad though. Maybe I just was having a bad day or something to that effect. But I will say this about the Tokyo experience was interesting. Mark Faber of Dr. Boom, Doom, and Gloom, I believe is his title, spoke after me. And I got to tell you, when Mark starts getting bullish, you almost wonder, is that the old Ed Sakota contrary indicator with the magazine covers? You know, when you see the magazine cover that says the bear is here, get bullish. And when you see the magazine cover that says everyone's investing in stocks, get bearish. But I took Faber to be pretty bullish on equities, was his opinion. But look, he describes, I don't disagree with what he says, and I said this in my presentation before he spoke. I generally agree with just about everything he says about economics, the Fed, all of the misadventures going on in society. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And his view is it will eventually end badly. And he doesn't put a specific timing out there for that. But I tend to agree with that. I don't have a timing either. Hence, if you are going to try and trade all this uncertainty, if you are going to try and make some money, you got to have a timing indicator of some sort. Isn't that one? Trend following has a timing indicator. You need to have something that gets you in and out. And if you're going to get in and out, use price action. Use something that's reactive. You're never getting in at the bottom. You're never getting out at the top. So one other interesting thing happened, and I won't go into this too much because I don't want to cause anybody any heartbreak there, so to speak. But after Mark Faber's presentation, I noticed that Hugh Hendry was sitting in the audience, kind of sitting by himself as people were shuffling out. And I asked him if he wanted to do a podcast, and I understood that he had been in the room listening to at least part of my presentation. So I didn't really make an introduction. I just sat down to him and asked him point blank if he wanted to appear on the podcast. I got a pretty affirmative no by the shake of the head, and I got the shake of the head twice. And, you know, it didn't really... I brought this up with some friends, and they thought, well, you're just fixating on that because you got to know. No, that's not really what I was doing. In my gut, in my heart of hearts, even though I love a lot of the things Hugh Hendry says, I really do. It's very much like Mark Faber. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense if you're a fundamental guy to have any association with me. Why, if you're a fundamental guy, why do you want association with Mike Covel? So in that sense, I respect Hugh Hendry. He is a very bright guy. He's had some success. Like I said, I love a lot of the things he says. I would have loved to have got him on the podcast. I just wanted to make the note that, hey, I'm out there still swinging. I'm going to keep getting people on. That is actually one of the, I think the interesting thing for me, it's one of the few no's I've ever received. It's like asking the hot girl out and getting rejected, so to speak. Except I can't really say that Hugh was hot or anything like that. I think that would sound a little bit odd. But anyways, maybe one day I'll get him on. But anyways, it's interesting. So I hopped over to Hong Kong, and I've got some more presentations to make in Hong Kong on the 4th and 5th of March. But in the last little bit here, just going around the city, getting a feel for the flow. And that's what I wanted to talk about today on this podcast, is the flow of this city. Because sometimes, and most people are stuck in the middle of it these days, when you're stuck in the middle of all that news coming at you nonstop, it's hard. It's really hard to stay positive. Whether that's trading the markets, whether that's starting a business, running your family, doesn't make a difference. It's the elimination of the negative, the elimination of the noise. Look at real-time news. Here's a great explanation from a business strategist, Seth Godin, who I've quoted a lot. I love the way he thinks. But listen to what he says about real-time news. Quote, Mike Bloomberg became the richest man in New York by selling traders just 15 seconds head start on the data they needed. 15 seconds costs thousands of dollars a month per trader. But in most cases, what we get online is not actually in real time, and it's not news either. Getting ever closer to the first moment is expensive in other ways. It might cost you in boredom because watching an entire event just to see the good parts takes time, particularly if there's no guarantee that there will be good parts. It might cost you in filtering because the less you're willing to wait, the more likely it is that you'll see news that's incorrect, out of context, or not nearly as valuable as it appears. When journalists, analysts, and pundits are all racing to bring you the news first, you get less actual news and more reflexive noise. Go watch an hour of cable news from a year ago. What were they yelling about that we actually care about today? And it turns out the 5-minute head start you got from watching that news live has no real value to make up for all the costs that go with it. On the other hand, if you can figure out how to bring actual, interesting, useful, breaking news to those that will pay for it, you can provide quite a profitable and beloved service. In the last 10 years, we've redefined breaking news from happened yesterday to happened less than 15 seconds ago. The next order of magnitude will prohibitively be expensive and most of the time not particularly useful. Better, I think, to hustle in the other direction and figure out how to benefit from well understood truth instead of fast and fresh rumor, end quote. That might as well be the trend following mantra. For all of you folks out there that think you need to be glued to the screen, that you need to hear what the next Fed announcement is going to be, that you need to worry about what high frequency trading is doing, that you need to be worried about anything that's said from a news perspective. Okay, you can go that direction. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not here to stop you. You're welcome to go that direction. What I want to do, though, is point out an alternative. An alternative is to take everything that I just read, that nice quote from Seth Godin, take everything that I just read, put that to the side, and do something entirely different. Is what he just described, which is 100% accurate, is that really fun to you? Is it really fun sitting on your rear end in front of a screen watching blips go by? Is that fun? Is that really quality of life? Is that really what you want to do? Or do you do it because that's how you think you make money? Of course you do it because that's how you think you make money. Nobody in their right mind would want to start to have the physical shape that comes from sitting in a chair 8 hours a day staring at a screen. Your body actually starts to take the shape of the chair. I mean, you start to kind of mold and become kind of a contorted looking type soul. I'm not criticizing that if that's what one wants. But here's the thing. That's not what one wants. That's not what people want. So once again, I'm not going to try and have the debate right now about real-time news and fundamentals and all that kind of stuff. If you want to do it, fine, great. However, pause for a second and consider the alternative. Consider the alternative. Consider the alternative that you want to be ready to make money when markets move in larger trending directions. You want to get on board these trends that have much lengthier time horizons than 15 seconds. You want to be prepared that when the next event happens, the next black swan swims in, the next man, I just about need to change my adult diapers for the 5th time today event. I've not worn those yet, but anyways, perhaps at some point in time I will. So I'm not trying to make fun of them. But you kind of get what I mean. It was interesting to listen to Mark Faber. He mapped out all of the economics, all of the Fed decision-making, the fiscal decision-making, the demographics, everything that possibly goes in to describe, the geopolitical, the between countries issues, everything that describes accurately where we are today. And I tend to agree with him. From a fundamental perspective, it's not pretty. But Mark's also bright enough that he did not put out there a prediction. He said, this will probably happen, but I don't know. And no one does know. So once again, if you put the 15-second news flash stuff aside, if you put your Bloomberg, I don't even know what the Bloomberg service fee is these days, but if you're still paying for it, put that aside just hypothetically in your own mind for a second. Say, what if you traded signals that were 6-month signals, meaning you were looking to take positions maybe once every 6 months, and you might exit in a month or another year. Maybe you exit with a 1-month stop or something, or you try and get into a position that stays much longer. Isn't that a much nicer life than fixating on the minutia of the day-to-day moment? You know, I had a lot of people in Japan at this event ask me about Tom DeMark. I don't know much about Tom DeMark. I know he's written some books. And it allowed me to make the distinction between reactive technical analysis and predictive technical analysis. And that DeMark is all about looking at the charts, looking at the price action, and saying, this will happen tomorrow, or this will happen the next week, or this is a setup for something to happen. Trend following is not like that. And this is where it's always interesting to put myself in an environment where it's perhaps mostly value people or mostly fundamental people, to get them to think about the idea, I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. I can't predict what is going to happen tomorrow. But if what happens tomorrow is a move up, a significant move up, that is an opportunity to take a position. That's an opportunity to get on board. So many people don't like that idea. The idea is, well, hold on, I'll just wait for it to get cheaper. I'll wait for it to get cheaper. With the assumption being that if it gets cheaper, if the price comes significantly down, that just means the market's going to go back up. It's actually kind of really illogical if you think about it. But this is grounded in a fairly simple thought process. Very simple thought process. Authority and tradition. The authority and tradition has put in motion one way to make money. I'm on the edges. I'm completely out there on a limb, on the edges, talking about a style of trading that a very small number of people actually do. Relatively speaking, a small number, compared to the assets under management in the buy and hold value space. And I was asked that question. People wanted to know, well, why would more people not switch to it? Why would more people not come to your point of view on trend following, Mike? And I said, well, gosh, if I've got, and I'm just speaking about the hypothetical person out there who's the fund manager who has all of these assets under management, he's being paid 2% each year just to wake up, and then 20% of the profits. Even if the strategy is bad, who wants to switch if that's your strategy? Meaning it's kind of hard to get people to switch out of something where they make so much money. That's the tradition. Look, there's the authority and tradition is just, look, think of it this way. And this is a quote from a guy named Jeff Darcy. Appeal to authority is bad, but appeal to tradition is even worse. Experts aren't infallible, but at least expertise is usually hard-won and retains some applicability over time. By contrast, tradition is often totally arbitrary or based on reasons that retain no relevance whatsoever. Also, an expert can issue a correction, but tradition remains immutable and sacred. See, I think all fundamental styles of investing fall into the category of tradition. Very few people are looking for an alternative such as trend following. And it's not about me just, beating people over the head and saying, you must accept trend following, you must accept trend following. No, really, most people that accept trend following, maybe they saw one of my books. Maybe I opened a door, But most everybody I've talked to about trend following, they jump in themselves. Maybe they get a head start. I mean, once again, maybe they get a head start from one of my books. Maybe they get a head start from some of my firm's training and some of my firm's systems. But after that, it's time for you. I mean, the people that love this get into it and they make it happen. That's the trick. Passion. You got to be passionate. You got to want it. You got to want it bad. If you don't want it bad, if you don't believe in it, it won't work. It won't work for you if you don't believe in it. You're better off just putting your money under your bed, buying gold, whatever crazy thing you want to do. But I really did enjoy the event in Tokyo. It's one of those things where you get the nice reminder of how different trend following is. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.